so safe and comforting. I have to say it like, I don't know, I just didn't say comforting. I'm saying it in the rhythmic cadence he did. This
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Les Audiophiles. My name is John. His name is Andy.
it is.
Me, my mum, and my dad and my gran were off to Waterloo. Me and my mum and my dad and my gran and a bucket of Vindaloo. Bucket. More on that later. But first, Andy has a chat to share with the class. Andy, what have you got for us?
I do. Are you familiar with a band named Hot Hot Heat?
I feel like it's familiar, but I think there's a lot of bands that probably a similar sort of sound. It's one of those one I don't know the band, but I feel like I've heard of them perhaps.
Okay. All right.
You know.
Well, we're going to go back and listen to them from the early 2000s, and this is a track called Talk to Me, Dance with Me.
Actually, their name does remind me of one of the worst band names ever, which is, what was it called? Dogs Die in Hot Cars. I mean, that's just a terrible, terrible name. Okay,
Yeah.
luckily that's not it. So I shall go off and listen to Hot Hot East.
Okay, great. Let me know what you think.
Will do. Interesting start. It's very very new wavy. I'm getting sort of band that comes to mind is the Rapture. What's it called? Echoes, the theme from Misfits TV series. That's a similar vibe. It's not the same sound, but the same sort of vibe I'm getting from it. I like the cowbell start, bold move, and it's got that sort of guitar sound, that's sort of new wavy, nice funky bass doing a little doodly-doo at the tops, which I'm sure Andy loves, and this sort of funky electronic sound as well incorporated, which does work really well actually. Yeah, interesting start.
So perfect and you paint it, yet so manipulated, so calming, so patient, yet oh so calculated, so safe and comforting. This doesn't feel like flirting, so fun I'm distracted, forgot you keep track of it. So perfect, you paint it, yet so manipulated, so calming, so patient, yet calculated. So perfect, you paint it, yet so manipulated, so calming, so patient, yet dance with me in the spotlight, girl. Talk to me, dance with me.
Yeah, that was really infectious. His vocals really remind me of someone I cannot think who, in the verse in particular. But yeah, really nice, short little ditty, um, but very infectious. Yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. The guitars, the beat, cowbells. You can't go wrong. Right, let's get back to Andy and see what he says.
Oh, welcome back, sir. And what did you make of the hot, hot heat?
Okay. Well, this is a cheeky little number. Um, it starts with a ebullient cowbell and a guitar riff that caws like a gossiping crow. Um, I I think it's electronic bass or some sort of synthy thing comes in and joins in and kind of mimics it. It's like a raven.
Mm,
Um, and there's like a I don't know if it's a shaker or a tambourine as well. They hitch a ride to this very obviously new wave inspired melody. Um, is a familiar territory, but it's welcome nonetheless. That there is a lot of songs that sort of like down, 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 down. It's
yeah.
quite a staple. But
Yeah.
there's plenty of blues songs that start down, 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 down. I love them all. So
Yeah.
it's of its type. So yeah, it was like straight away. Yeah, this is new wavy. That as you said, early noughties sort of scene. And there did seem to be a lot spring up then,
Yeah.
post strokes, etc. Um, yeah, yeah. So instantly sort of recognizable. I know where I am geographically, musically. The vocalist starts, and again, we say this so many times. His voice is reminiscent of other artists, particularly in the verse sections. I'm thinking, I've just about got who it is. No, it's gone again. And it just didn't, I couldn't, but it's totally fitting with the sound.
Yeah.
He is how I'd expect him to sound, which is a good thing. Um, um, I believe a proper bass, I will call it, comes in, and he was doing some nice flourishes at the end of the line, at the end. I did comment in the reaction that I'm sure that would have tickled Andy's funny bone, and a proper drum kit as well also show up. So there's this nice choppy, funky feel to this from that sort of noughties vibe. And the first sort of bandish that came to mind in sort of particular song was the Rapture Echoes. It doesn't sound, the two songs are not similar, but in kind of approach they are. It was the theme tune to the TV series Misfits, and so I really know it because I watched all of those.
Mm,
But also there were like little bits of, because like you said before in your Venn diagrams of bands, intersecting, and there's a bit of like We Are Scientists and a bit of Future Heads and a bit of lots of others we can sprinkle
mm,
around, and all of these bands have little bits that sound like each other because it's a scene, and that makes sense. But again, so it made it sort of, comfortable to listen to. Um, then this after the nice chorus, this like a synth riff that sort of escorts you gently into the second verse, where there's now a brighter ringing guitar as opposed to that wah 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 crow.
mm.
Um, I like both of them. And again, the bass does some lovely work, and actually a lot of the heavy lifting right before the second chorus. Again, I really like that. So you have the chorus and then cue breakdown, and it was quite nice because they announced it with a drum roll, which is brilliant and quite funny. And this made me chuckle. And it goes into beats and shakers, repeated lyrics, which again, you are my only girl, but you're not my only girl. I think he says like many, many times. And then it's staccato riffs, that sort of broken. These are all well trodden techniques,
Oh yeah.
but very satisfying nonetheless.
Yeah.
Um, there's the final chorus, and then after 2.5 minutes, like Kaiser Soze, they're gone. Um, this is really sort of pithy, very infectious little ditty, and a really good example of that sort of scene, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. 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 It is all those things. And it's, very neatly packaged for your enjoyment. And I thought you might have fun with this one. And as you said, there's some cheeky pithiness to the lyrics and even just the melody and music itself.
Yeah.
Which makes it all that much more fun.
Just to add one more thing, that scene, and there were Brits doing it and Americans doing it, and there were slight differences in the sound. But I think overall, that scene at that time was all of the bands sounded quite youthful and exuberant and sort of hopeful as well. It had a really nice sort of vibe to it. You know, it was enjoyable to listen to all those sort of sounds.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, they're a Canadian outfit, an indie rock band from Victoria, British Columbia, and they formed in 1999. The band, there's been some turnover, but the mainstay, Steve Bays on keyboards, lead vocals, Paul Hawley on drums and backing vocals, Dante DeCaro on guitar, and Dustin Hawthorne was on bass, though he was replaced later by Parker Bosley. The band was signed by the Seattle label Sub Pop in 2001 and released its first EP, Knock Knock Knock, and first full-length album, Make Up the Breakdown, the following year. And
sorry, Andy. A couple of things. Yeah. One, Parker Bosley, excellent name.
Yeah, sounds like old money.
Yeah. Or was it Bosley that was in charge of Charlie's Angels? It's reminding me of that.
I think it was. Or something very close to that. But yeah. You're on the.
And secondly, Sub Pop was obviously amazing. I used to buy stuff because it was on Sub Pop in the 90s. Kind of lost touch with them. So I guess they would evolve. You can't be sitting just knocking out Mudhoney for the rest of your time. So, but it does surprise me that this is Sub Pop because I have that filtered view of Sub Pop, and this is not Sub Pop. It was almost like a genre.
Next for Sub Pop and the sound they were looking
for. Of course.
Yeah, precisely. So they I think they go on to release 5 full-length albums. The last being the self-titled Hot Heat album in 2016. And the band's style makes use of electronic and traditional instruments. And they have variously been categorized as dance punk, post-punk revival, new wave, and art punk. Dustin Hawthorne was a drugstore clerk and Steve Bays was a personal assistant, and they had been in different bands together since 1995, and they met Paul Hawley in 1998, and by 99, Hawley bought a Juno 6 keyboard and asked Bays to try playing it, as no one else knew how. Hawley took over the drums from Bays, and Hawthorne played bass, and Matthew Marnick, who was a friend of the band, sang vocals for them in their early days. The band's original sound can be considered electropunk. The band soon changed direction to a more melodic pop influenced style, losing Marnick and adding guitarist Dante DeCaro, who was strongly influenced by new wave sound of the 80s, like The Cure, XTC, The Clash, Elvis Costello, and The Attractions. The new lineup with Steve on vocals quickly released a series of 7-inch singles and toured extensively in Canada and the American Pacific Northwest. They joined up with bands such as Les Savifaves, The French Kicks, Radio 4, I'm a Robot, and Pretty Girls Make Graves, and they opened opening for established Canadian rocker Sloan on a national tour. So these guys are really starting to pick up a lot of, press and tour dates and just overall interest when they sort of change their sound a little bit and rework their lineup. And by the time they made contact with Sub Pop, the band's sound had mutated into what would soon be known as dance punk. They stood at the forefront of this movement and would explode on the indie rock scene within another year. The band's first full-length release, which I alluded to earlier, Make Up the Breakdown, was produced by Nirvana and Soundgarden producer Jack Endino. The album quickly found critical acclaim, and the singles Bandages and Talk to Me, Dance with Me, which you just gave a listen to, received regular airplay on MTV and the radio, including influential Los Angeles station K-Rock FM, which we had talked about, I think, a lot in our Rock Kills Kid songs that we had covered. And they charted, both those songs charted at #1 on K-Rock. However, their track Bandages was removed from the radio in the UK from the playlist at BBC Radio 1 in light of the war in the Middle East. This was thought to have hindered the position at number 25 in the UK charts. The track had been on the B list on the station's guaranteeing 15 plays a week and a potential audience of millions, but it was removed because of the prevalence of the word bandages in the song, a spokesperson said. So I guess...
Well, we spoke about this, I think, before with Massive Attack, having to change their name to Massive, because the government issued loads of like stupid D notices, which are supposed to report reporting restrictions on sensitive stuff to do with the national security. I know that's quite a common thing in your country. It's not quite so common over here, and they really misused it for anything that was anything to do with conflict. Like changing a band's name is just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
and Bandages has got nothing to do with the Middle East, because I mean, I probably should call yourself, you know, Body Bags in the Desert. I could see perhaps that would be an issue.
Right.
But Bandages, for God's sake.
And meanwhile, just a couple of years later, Outkast would release a song literally called Bombs Over Baghdad that would be played all over U.S. radio stations, who were literally dropping, like our country is dropping bombs over Baghdad at the time. So it's interesting that, like you say, our country is more inclined to, yet here are these examples where Bleed American wasn't changed. And if anyone would be offended by that album title, it would be Americans. Bandages wasn't enough to, you know, influence any decision makers' minds at record labels or radio stations, and the list goes on and on. So yeah, I was kind of blown back when I came across this doing my research. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. We've talked about it. Let me pop this in here because yeah, it's really.
I think the restrictions in the USA really would come down to corruption of children, rather than violence. You're quite happy with violence, but you know. If it's some naughty rap artist, then no.
Exactly. Oh yeah, if it has a kitty, if there's a kitty involved, stop. You know, the world stops. But you know, bombs over Baghdad, a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Anyway, Make Up the Breakdown was released on October 8th, 2002, and it was ranked as the 20th best album of the year by Pitchfork in their top 50 albums of 2002. And they gave the album an 8.7 out of 10. AllMusic gave it a 4 out of 5. LA Times gave it a 3.5 out of 4, which is really interesting to have a 4-star rating system. NME scored it a 9 out of 10, and Spin gave it an 8 out of 10. So let me jump into the lyrics here. You are my only girl, but you're not my owner, girl. You are my only girl, but you're not my owner, girl. That repeats 2 more times. Talk to me, dance with me here in the spotlight, girl. Talk to me, dance with me here. You're the spotlight, girl. So perfect, you painted, yet so manipulated. So calm and so patient, yet oh so calculated. So safe and comforting. I have to say it like, I don't know, I just didn't say comforting. I'm saying it in the rhythmic cadence he did. This doesn't feel like flirting. So fun, I'm distracted, forgot you keep track of it. You are my only girl, but you're not my owner, girl. That repeats 7 more times. Talk to me, dance with me here. You're the spotlight, girl. That repeats 2 more times. Talk to me, dance with me. So yeah, very quick, very accessible in its packaging. It's over almost as quickly as it starts, but there is a lot of fun that sort of like staccato meets freneticism and all that packaged up very quickly. And it is so quintessentially of its time, as you mentioned in your synopsis of the song. You know, this is when all these great albums at the time are utilizing sounds like this. And there was a real like wave of great tunes coming out that captured this kind of sound. And to me, this song and this band is quintessential to that sound and that movement at the time. And yeah, that's why I brought it to the table. I'm glad you liked it for all the seemingly same reasons I did as well. So yeah.
Yeah. You get this with some, you can almost see it with certain musical movements where there's a generation or a section of bands which have discovered previous music
Oh yeah.
almost for the first time. So you get it with James Brown, Led Zeppelin, with hip hop, etc. And it's like as you said, the aforementioned. I'd imagine Gang of Four would be another one,
Yeah.
with that choppy sound. But yeah, Costello, people like that. And they're like, oh, this is cool. And it
Yeah.
may be like your dad's record collection or your uncles or your much older brothers, and they got this, and suddenly it's influence rather than, fucking Motley Crue or something.
Yeah.
And what they do is they run with it, and as I said, they have this exuberance to it, and it's really cool. It's like, guess what, we got this, and
Yeah.
they go for it, and you have that movement within it. I think it's really cool to see.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Especially when it's done well, and you can so easily connect the dots. It's just like, oh man, especially um like our different vantage points that we've talked extensively about on this channel, where for you, you're seeing the defibrillators rubbed and charged back into the chest of these genres that have kind of like waned
Yeah.
in popularity, and here they come again. And for me, it's this Frankenstein is for me the original thing, and but then I realized, oh no, it's not. It's created from all these things that came when I was like a fucking toddler or 4 years before I was born, and I'm then introduced to the stuff that influenced it. You're pleased to see that the stuff you loved is now influencing a new sound, and it's just cool. It's just fun. So yeah, man, I'm glad you gave this one a listen. I'm glad you liked it.
One more thing, I cannot let this go. Of the bands you listed where they're touring with, Pretty Girls Make Graves is a Smiths reference. I have to say it.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I know these guys probably love them some Smiths as well when you listen to some of the bands that are labeled here as like influences on them. So it all checks out. All right, guys. Well, I guess that about wraps it up. Let us know down in the comments field what you thought of Hot Hot Heat, and talk to me, dance with me. Any of their other stuff, maybe some of the bands that they reminded you of. If you have any recommendations, also feel free to give it a shout down there. We always love checking out what you guys have to offer up to us, and featuring those on our Friday episodes here at the Audiophiles. All that out of the way, also like, share, and subscribe if you be so inclined. We're trying to grow the channel. We are growing the channel, but we can't continue to do that without you new viewers out there who are giving us new eyes. So please join the party. The water is fine. And John and I will hopefully see all y'all and some more on the next installment of the Audiophiles. See you later, guys.